Welcome to Lovesick, the podcast where we dive into health, wellness, and relationships and their impact on the world today. Come be a part of the discussion and join our community by following us on YouTube, Instagram, and listening wherever you get your favorite podcasts. Enjoy the show. Hello, welcome back to the Lovesick podcast. I am your host, Jada Ford. With me is Dorothea Howard and Michael Fishman. I am super excited to have someone in the studio today, and I'm going to tell you why. If you are ever in Long Beach, okay, if you are having, I don't care what kind of day you're having, you could be having the crappiest day, you can be having the best day of all, but when you see this gentleman, the healing bear, dancing on the street, it is literally, it changes your mood completely. So today we have the healing bear, and I just wanted to say thank you also for coming on the show.
Thank you for having
And we're
me.
so lucky, to have you here, and just want to get started. So I want to know, obviously, where the dancing came about.
Well, it was like it was exercise, running on the street, and then it just kind of evolved as I was evolving as a person. Just evolved, I was going through so much turmoil and contrast, you know, um, really bad time for me in a relationship. It was just weird. So then that was kind of my outlet, my therapy.
I love that. And why do you call yourself the healing bear, then?
Because I'm a psychic and I'm a healer. So I do psychic readings and I also do Reiki
Okay.
and massage. So I help people with their bodies and attune their bodies and balance their bodies.
So where do you dance? Because people may want to come around and check you out. So where do you dance?
I dance on 2nd Street, usually from one corner to the other. And I just go around in a loop.
No, but actually, that's a good point about the like for you that was healing, because we talked about this recently in one of our shows where music was used for healing. And I mean, I can even think of times where certain songs put me in a certain kind of mood or a better mood, and dancing brings out some kind of like endorphins, natural endorphins. And so just wherever you want to take us, I don't want to get too much into your, business, but for someone to just go out there and just dance, and you're like, are you an outgoing person? Because I know personally, I probably could not do that, but then I just feel like when you do it, it just puts me in a good mood, and now I want to go dance with you.
It was just a process of like I was my own worst enemy for so long. I was bullied in school for being gay and like constantly. So it's just like a course where I started discovering that how long am I going to beat myself up, you know? And so it just kind of started fading away, fading away. And then one day it just became a dance of confidence and art expression because that's what it feels like. It's like a painting, but I do it in a dance form. And I also like to teach other people that they can be out and they can do what I do and have the confidence. I have a special place for women in my life because they always uplifted me, always like put me on a pedestal. You can do this, you can do this, you can do this. And so I'm a big feminist. and and also for my community, LGBTQIA plus, I want them to have the confidence to be who they are and thrive and do what I do if they want. And nothing is impossible.
There's a
That's really
beautiful
good.
part of that.
Yeah.
I mean, the energy part of it, I guess, is the part I want to touch on because I think we talk about healing, we talk about emotion, right? And you said you were in a traumatic kind of relationship, you were in a place, and you just mentioned how there were a lot of periods in your life where people kind of wore you down, right? And
Totally.
I think the admittance, and not maybe I'm speaking for me, but I think maybe you agree with me, is I think we wear ourselves down, right? Maybe inadvertently, but I think we start to take on some of that.
Mhm.
So this ability to like release it publicly, like I mean, Jada's been talking about you endlessly in the most beautiful ways.
Thank
and
you.
I think
Yeah,
it's
she has.
so it's
All
so
good.
important, right? Like,
Yeah.
and it's how surprised are you, or maybe how empowered are you by how much this has kind of impacted other people or reached other people?
Um, I see the change, especially in my friends and people I talk to on the street, and even, heterosexual men that I never had relationships with. It was always I had a huge block with heterosexual men because of the triggers that I had from the past. So now speaking to them and telling them what I do and why I do what I do, they look at life a little bit differently now, the people that I've engaged out on the street. Because I will stop and I will talk to people and have beautiful conversations. And that's what I love about it too.
What's that turning point from when you said you were being bullied and stuff in school? What's that turning point where you're like, okay, this is enough. I'm tired of, feeling this way. What got you to that point where you're like, no, and now I need to make myself happy and have other people be happy too?
Yeah, it started around 18, and I had left Albuquerque, New Mexico. So it was 17, 18 process. When I reached 18, I remember I was riding the train and I was waiting for it, and and guy came up to me, and you know what he called me,
Mhm.
and and then that's when I kind of had my first surgence of like power, and I said, "What are you going to do about it?" And that changed for me. Like from that moment on, even though I went through contrast, that 18, being 18 and saying that kind of led me on this road to where I am now.
I love that.
Contrast.
And that's really helping people what you're doing because you're letting them know it's not okay to be bullied. And then you take that and you turn it around and you empower yourself, but then you're also empowering other people. So when you're out there dancing, I got to ask, do people join you?
Yes.
How beautiful, right? The spontaneous part of that's gotta be so
Right.
beautiful, right? The
Yeah.
energy exchange
Yeah,
of
it's
like
yeah.
it's why everybody does any kind of entertainment,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Like performance is meant to be shared, right?
Yep.
Yes.
And I think we get negative at times and we share this negativity in society. And I'm glad that we're starting to kind of find these spaces and like what you do totally changes somebody. I mean, Jada
I-
just talked about you changed her whole day, right? Like,
Yeah.
beautiful.
Yeah, because she came back and told everybody. So this is your fan right here because
Thank
she
you.
is your
Thank you,
fan. She
Jade.
came back and told all of us, and
Wow.
you have
Wow.
to see him. And I thought, I've never seen him there, and she just she was like your hallelujah crowd,
Thank
which
you.
is
Thank you,
really
Jada.
awesome because
No problem.
It's
she was
beautiful.
really, when she saw you, it actually made her feel good,
That's
and then
amazing.
she wanted to share the information about you and say, Mom, we need to have him on the show.
Wow.
And I thought, yes, because he's empowering people.
Thank
And
you.
that's the beauty of this show because it's not just chronic illnesses or rare diseases. It's like there's a lot of things. We're very inclusive, right?
Yeah.
So like when you were saying as far as like the how that's healing for you, when I when I was younger, and I remember I had this one bully. And
Oh.
she used to.
Ah!
Mhm. So I used to have this bully when I was young. No, seriously.
Yes, she
And
did.
but I was able to transfer some of that into being like working in theater and stuff because it gave me a chance to I wasn't great on stage, but it was fun and it got me like out of my show a little bit more and I was more confident after that. And like I think it just if we could teach kids at a younger age, like Michael does team sports. We were talking about that, how it brings, confidence in kids. I just, I would love something, just anything to be an outlet and it makes you feel good. And I want kids to be able to, or people, adults, it's just
Oh,
to
yes.
feel
Adults
confident.
get bullied too.
Yeah, but just to feel confident in their own skin and with their own selves because you're not going to please everybody. So why the hell does it matter what you
Yeah.
go there and do?
well, and I would say, Ernesto, maybe for you, maybe you could describe it for us of like, what's it like when you go out at the beginning of a day?
Okay.
And what does it feel like over the course of the day? Because it's got to shift along the way. I think everybody's been bullied at some point.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yep.
The type and the impact is different. And I think we always have to be conscious of that because we don't really know what other people's experiences are. But like, what's that energy exchange? Like, what's that initial at the beginning? And then what are the moments for you throughout the day that you're like, God, I love to do this.
You mean in terms of dance?
Yeah.
Yeah. When I start kind of in meditation, and then I go into calisthenics to kind of make my body really strong for the dance. So I kind of do the inner work, um, and then and then I do weights, to the outer work, and then I just kind of know when to start. It's like there's something in my body that shifts,
Mhm.
and I say, okay, I'm here, and then even through the dance, I have moments where I said, well, this and this and this, or what about these people over here? This, and then I have to shift it. I'm sorry, you just said ship. Shift it.
Gotta ship
Right.
it.
That's okay. We can say whatever we want.
Yeah.
We talk
Uh,
about everything. Everything's on the table. We can go anywhere you want.
it like there's a thing that I have to kind of talk to myself and say, transmute this
Mm.
while I'm doing the dance, transmute this, and then it gets transmuted, then I move on from it. And it was something very interesting, like a little side story. I have a friend, and he's been watching me out and about. So he texted me on Instagram, and can I say that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
No, I know.
You
Uh,
can pretty much say whatever you want.
Say what you want.
um, and he said that when he watches me dance, and there's kind of, there's where he sees toxic masculinity, he says that those people change their energy fast because they see someone that's saying, this person doesn't care about what I think about his dance or his performance or his experience. So
Yeah.
I thought that was very interesting because I never seen it from that point of view, where
Hmm.
it's like I didn't see that, but he saw that aspect, and I thought, wow,
That's great.
yeah,
I love that.
Can I?
But
Oh, go
oh
ahead.
no, what I was thinking, hearing you talk, it seems like it's just more than just dance. It's mind, body, and spirit. And that's what you're bringing to it. So it's not like, oh, I'm going to go out and dance today, but you have a thought process that you put into it. And that's what I think that healing is and why it's so, important. And also, it's just great of
thank you.
what you're doing. But I did have another question. Have you encountered any bullies while you're out there dancing? Because I know you got
Yes.
your crowd that love you, and then you have the bullies.
Yeah, it's when I first started the process, because I came from San Diego, close to 2 to 3 years ago, and then I started dancing. So the beginning stages of dancing down there was a lot.
Mhm.
There was a lot of bullies, but I have this mantra and like this belief that I always say, "Goddess is with me," and
Love that.
Yeah.
and then when I put, and even if I say it out loud, like I envelop the goddess energy, people move away that are trying to
Hmm.
infiltrate into my vibe. So they'll move away. Once you say goddess for some reason,
Right.
they run. They
Yeah.
run the other way. Yeah.
I love your spirit.
Thank you.
I really do. I can see how you can attract the people no matter who's out there. And I can see how you can intimidate the bullies because the people that are trying to just like mess up your day,
Yeah.
you don't allow them to do that.
Yep,
And
that's a
so
good point.
the way that your energy just comes out at everyone, it's like a shield. You
It
can't
is.
mess with me.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
I like it.
I do too.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned doing energy work. So kind of in
Yes.
a way, this is all different, just different forms
Yes.
of kind of that energy work. Maybe for people, could you talk about that a little bit, about energy work, about some of the other kind of healing modalities that you use and utilize? Because I think we're looking for like a holistic approach to this. And I want people to hear it from your perspective, if you could, Ernesto.
Yeah, it's the energy work. Um it started when I was 21, but it didn't I was still developing and growing. So when I reached Saturn returns, which is a huge planetary change in metaphysics, it changed for me when I started getting into my own vibrational power.
Mm.
And so I started seeing people and you know being a little catalyst for people in their health. And for myself, I do it as well. Like I can clear myself of energy through I do Reiki on myself to clear myself of unwanted things, thought patterns, um, and things like that. It's really helped the expression of dance, but it's also helped my soul, helped me as a person, to talk to people, like you and all of you here, and to be able to relate not just with myself and my beliefs, but with everyone else and their beliefs, and vibe with everyone's beliefs because we're all different.
Yeah,
That's true.
it is true.
Have you ever been asked to like attend events as a guest because of the dancing and, companies or organizations or even just individuals ask you to come and dance for them at their event?
Not that way, but just as people I know in Long Beach, or they contact me on Instagram to kind of just do a little dance with them, and I do it. I go and say, I like to dance. I'm going to be here, so I join them. The thing with the thing with the dance, it's like I was telling you, I don't want to hustle for anything. I just want to allow,
Mm.
like allow, and I don't want to have ownership over anything. Just want to
Yeah.
allow.
Can you talk about that a little bit? Can you talk about kind of your philosophy? There's a beautiful soul presence to you, right? And I think it kind of resonates with people and kind of exudes out of your dance, but I think it exudes in everything. And you even kind of mentioned, I'm going to ask you in a minute about social media, but maybe we can start with that part. Like, how does that work for you? What is that? You have a very grounded, very soulful, powerful healing space. And how does that manifest for you, and how do you help others with it?
um, it was just that allowing thing. It was just through contrast, to like ultimate contrast. Um, I was very physically abused as a child and mentally abused by my stepfather. So
Mm.
that all that contrast kind of got me into the space of just allowing and and forgiving. Forgiving is a big one because um, I learned that all of that resentment and anger that I had toward my stepfather was hurting me.
Mm.
Mhm.
And he's already passed away. So why am
Yeah.
I still holding on to all of this? So I said, it's just life experiences, and I don't want to judge him for it at this point in my life because he probably went through 100-fold what I went through in his upbringing. So I don't. So I started to see maybe he was treated this way. Maybe he was treated this way by his father, his mother, or people around him. So when I start delving into that, it takes away that anger and that stigma and that memory. So I'm able to see him in a different light as just a soul that was just very confused at the
Mhm.
Mm.
time.
It's the shifting, I
Yeah.
think,
Yeah.
and that does a huge,
Wow.
even just the way you would even talk to yourself. Like if you were looking in the mirror, the way certain things that you like say things like, sorry. I try to be mindful of how even sometimes I always want to like beat myself up or do something, and I'm like, if you just change a word or two, it's a total shift, and it's like it's insane how much it can change, but the power. But that's what the forgiving. It's like maybe for yourself, and I can't put words in your mouth, but maybe for yourself, you just felt like to forgive because it's like, well, now I need to feel better about my day or
Yeah.
myself, and that's
And,
powerful.
and one point that I want to really make is that, and this just recently happened within the last 2 weeks, where I felt like I was still in the ownership quality of like people around me and situations. And I didn't like that. So I started working with that too. I said, I don't want to own anyone. I don't want to know any situation. So it started, the thing that happened was I went to go see someone at a skyrise in downtown, and this person was like very negative toward me. And then almost like it was awakening moment where I said, maybe he's going through a breakup. Maybe someone in his family passed away. And then I'm getting emotional. And then I said, this is when he needs love the most.
Ooh,
Yeah.
that is
And that
powerful.
was like an incredible shift
Yeah.
where it
Right.
was just like,
Right.
Yeah.
That's super powerful.
Yeah, there's
You realize
something.
it wasn't you
That's it.
personally, but it's actually
Yeah.
that person that was going through whatever it is and really didn't know how to communicate
Yeah.
that with you. But yeah, it's sorry that you had to go through that with, the person. But
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, it hurts.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It hurts. And it's
Yeah.
sad, but at least you had that different thought
Yeah.
process, and what you do prepared you for that.
Yeah.
Well,
It
that's the
actually
shift.
prepared you.
That's the
Right.
point of the
It's
shift. It's like,
it's
yeah.
weird because I would go on sites, that you rate people before in the past, and I said, I'm not there anymore.
Mm.
It's just people are humans. They go through so much contrast in the day to day. I don't want to add any more burden on this person, and I'm going to send him love because he needs it the most at that moment. It's just it's weird because to get to that, it's almost like blocks just come down.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, well,
Right.
I think there's
Yeah.
this beautiful, it's compassion, but it's also it's understanding. And I think this is one of the things is there's a part of us almost that we're trained by society to make everything personal,
Agreed.
right?
Yep.
And
Yes.
we need to step away from that for a moment. And whether it be dealing with an illness, dealing with a family member who may or may not be a positive place in your life at the current time, whether it's a relationship that can become toxic, or even just meeting people on the street, right?
Yep.
Like you meet people, you don't have any concept of what they're going through. And so understanding, and maybe they're in a bad place, having some compassion and understanding, I think it gives you a place to release a lot of that and not make it so personal. Because
Because when it comes personal, then you start to wear it too.
yeah,
Like,
and carry it.
yeah, and carry it. Yeah.
Like you mentioned with your stepfather, anytime people, almost all kids go through trauma. Now, I'm a firm believer that nobody really gets through childhood and adolescence without some, but some of it's much more extreme. To be able to turn and look at that and have the wisdom and the compassion to say, he probably went through, I think you said 100 times maybe that, right? Like
Mm.
that you're realizing that what you're receiving from them, while detrimental for you, a lot of times is emblematic or symptomatic
Yep.
of something they experienced and didn't know how to process, or didn't, and they passed it to you in this very strange way. And the only way for you to keep from passing it to somebody else is to process that energy, right? You use the word transmute it, which I love,
Yeah.
is transmute that energy. And that's such a valuable component of it. When you start using your gifts, like when you come into a room of all of us and all this energy, right? What does that mean?
Yeah.
For you? I'm curious. Like what is your instinct, your reaction? What is your, like, what do you take in?
I just it's very organic for me. Like, it's I just kind of feel the energy, you know. When I first talked to Jada on Instagram, I just felt that from her. Like, I'm gonna do this podcast with her
Oh.
because I love the name, by the way. Lovesick. I
you.
love the
Oh,
name.
I thought you meant mine. I was like, that was her. Oh, but yeah, Lovesick.
Yeah, it's like
Which
it,
she thought of, actually.
it's beautiful. And
Yes.
it really kind of drew me in. But coming into a space like this, I'm always open and I respect people's beliefs, how they are, how their energy is. Even when it comes to like touchy subjects like politics, I don't get involved in that way so much because that's what the person is going through. That's what they're vibing or the contrast that they need at the time. So
Mm.
it's almost like diffusing all of that and seeing people as people and pretty much it. Yeah, just that
No,
answers your question.
Yeah.
no, it's good, but
That's
it's
really
it's
good.
also like, I
Yes.
think with the energy and the Reiki, and maybe you can explain a little bit what Reiki is, just for some of our listeners who may not know, but and dealing with a childhood trauma. Now, a lot of sicknesses come from traumas, and that's what we've discussed before, where it's like people take on their trauma and then they get physically ill, and it causes diseases too, and I think unblocking it, and that's why we talked between like holistic and medicine,
Mhm.
is medicine in itself, because it's literally clearing the pathways of all that stuff, all the trauma, and it's keeping you from, holding it all in. But I do want to know how you got into Reiki, and could you tell us a little bit about what it is, and why you got started?
It's just kind of something that happened to me, which is weird. It's just my friend was very sick at one time, and he got a death sentence. So,
Ooh.
and that was early on, around, I don't remember. I think somewhere in my 20s. I don't remember right now, but I started kind of just putting my hands on his head and his body. And I think at that time he had pneumonia. And I was saying, can I do this? Like it was just like experiencing, can I do
Right.
this? So I started kind of doing that, and it kind of just something without even knowing what Reiki was. It was just weird. It just kind of happened naturally. And then I started developing it. I said, I can do this. What I do is it's called a compression release, which I take the person's traumatic energy field through my own body. Now, see, now I moved the phone. and and then let it out of my body safely. So let's say someone's family or a member passed away and they have a lot of pain and sorrow. I'm able to take all that pain and sorrow and transmute it out of my body.
You're a natural healer. I
I mean,
mean,
that's
really, like you are a natural healer. I mean, sitting here when we first met, because I've never met you before, and as you were talking, I'm thinking, I'm just ready for him to sing because I thought you were a singer too. Because I knew you were a dancer, but I thought, like, he's got this smooth voice. I'm ready for him to say some notes.
Can you sing?
I can.
Oh.
I do sing when I'm dancing too.
Oh, wow.
Just straighten my vocal cords.
Oh,
And
see, I read you.
Yeah,
See?
you did.
You see? Look, yeah. I don't know. It was something about you, and I thought, I bet he can sing. I don't know why I thought that, but I thought it, But it's true. You said you can sing.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
do. Yeah, just kind of.
So you want to show us?
Oh, I don't know.
I'm just kidding you
It's
anyway.
I like to straighten my vocal cords, but it's
Yeah.
almost like a fun process of what can I do with my voice. It's like I thrive on challenges. Like this is why I do what I do, because it's a challenge. Can I get past my depression? Can I get past forgiving this? Can I do
Yeah.
all that? So for me, it's like challenges really help me thrive and discover things about myself. So I love challenges.
I think that's awesome.
Yeah.
The first time you get out there and you're dancing on the street, did it happen organically? Was it just a moment where you were like, because you mentioned you started running, right? You were running
Yes.
the area.
Yeah.
Did it start with like you're just feeling the music and you just felt like it, or was it like, you know, and this is what I'll say, all my friends who are in the gay community, the LGBTQAI, have felt compressed for large periods of their life. And I don't want to speak for you, but that's been my experience. Is people in society put all these blocks on you and this pressure, right? At least that's been my experience. Was it I just want to let it all out? Was it organic in the moment? Like what prompted that? What was the big moment of release?
Yeah, it was me ending a relationship.
Mm.
Like at that time, coming into I consider Long Beach my sanctuary city
Okay.
Mhm.
because it kind of took me. I was doing it a little bit in San Diego while I was dancing, but when I came to Long Beach and leaving this relationship that I had, um, I kind of like started discovering more things about myself. So when I started dancing, it was just running and then occasional little dance, but it wasn't like full.
Right.
It was just like I kind of was testing myself
Mhm.
and testing the
Releasing,
energies around me.
right? Like
Yeah,
releasing yourself, like
yeah,
like going out into the
yeah,
world and opening yourself.
Yep.
Let's
And,
see how far I can go.
yeah.
and the beautiful thing is that's largely what we do as kids, right? But the problem
Yeah.
is what happens is people start to hammer you or start to like
Judge
judge
or
Mhm.
or
yep.
people say things, right? And then you
Mhm.
start to compress yourself a little and you're like, oh, this isn't the place, or oh, people won't accept me, right? So then you get quieter and you get smaller, right? Where it
Yeah,
comes to using your
Shrink
voice,
yourself.
using your
Yep.
art. And then all of a sudden, you start getting this kind of healthy space. You start going, oh, I'm going to let this out. And then you're just like, And then you get to a point where you're like, watch me, like let it out, right? And then all of a sudden people are going, oh, wow. And they watch your freedom. And I feel like freedom leads to other people's freedom, right? Because people go, oh, that he's authentically letting it out, expressing in all of these ways. I mean, Jada told you, it literally has changed multiple days for her. And it
Seriously.
like has
Yeah.
shifted.
Yeah.
It's
Like,
amazing.
She really talked about it.
and I think it's important that you also
Yeah.
hear that. Because
Yeah, it is.
so often we tell people when we don't like things. And as a
Yes.
society, we're
We are
really good at
notorious for doing
telling
that.
people
Right.
when we don't like something. Or
Right.
right now, we're in this really negative space where we love to tell everybody our opinions or what's wrong with everything else or what's wrong with that political group or this group or that belief system. What we don't do is stop and say, oh my God, you're awesome. Right? Like, oh, that is phenomenal. Oh, I want to
It's
hear
true.
more about the goddess,
Right.
right? Like,
Yeah.
I hear words come from you, even contrast, right? I would love to know what that word really means to you because you use it in such a beautiful way for people. Like all of these things. We don't celebrate each other enough. We don't celebrate life enough. And I think that's a beautiful thing is you went out and said, almost like, screw it, I'm gonna be me. And then it's like, no, I'm gonna be all of me. And then it's like other people are like, yeah, I want to be me too, right? I mean, you hear, listen,
Right.
Jada and I will come dance with you. 'Cause
Yep.
it's the first, when
Really? Jada will.
Jada's like, I'm gonna go dance with him. I said, so when are we going? And she's like, you're gonna go too. I was like, absolutely. Listen, I don't have a lot of shame, but I'm not gonna be good. But man, will I back you up on anything you want? I'm in.
Yeah, if you just want to stand back and just.
That's beautiful.
But you will be center stage. That's what I will say.
That's beautiful, Michael. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
It's contrast for me is the thing that I used to find like a dirty word. I just say, oh, this contrast and all this heartache, and then when I started using it in dance to kind of transmute it, and I said, I'm going to transmute this from a contrasting rock to a diamond, and just kind of like that's how I got a positive for something that seems so negative. Does that make sense?
100%. I think it's a
Mhm.
beautiful
1000%.
expression. And I wanted you to express that for people because I think words are powerful, right? And I think for people, we have to find the words that fit for us.
Mm-hmm.
And that one has really worked for you. And you may have just given it as a gift to our audience because I hope it's so easy nowadays to hold on to negative stuff. The news is negative.
Yep.
Stories are negative. Even social media at times, right?
Yep.
So to find the positive or find the way to kind of transmute that or find the way where you can acknowledge a negative moment or a negative element and then find the good in it or change it, like that's healing all in its own. So I love the way you express that.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. I also learned something about the ego, which I was always fighting all my life with. Being a Leo, it's like ego, 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 and I had to make friends with the ego because it's almost like it helps you to say you're kind of a little out of alignment, but almost allowing it to happen for that moment. Like let the ego burst for a moment and then just seeing it and just, oh, it's going to do its thing. I'll wait a couple seconds and then move on from it. And it's just like making the ego your friend kind of helps you to see if you're in alignment with who you are or what you're doing. So that's how also the ego has changed for me too.
That's beautiful.
I like the process of meditation. This is
Yeah, I
something that
do
I'm
too.
learning
Yeah.
myself, but it is one of those things that it does change the course of my day. In the mornings, like I probably talk about this on the show all the time.
About
but
your coffee and being on
but
the
I'm not
patio.
kidding. I will sit
He
out
does that all the time.
because I used to be so like go, go, go.
Yes.
And then I would literally one day I was like, I'm gonna get up early and I'm just gonna sit out front with my coffee, watch the sunrise, and then literally that just nothing else. And to me, that completely changes my entire morning or day because I allow myself to kind of be in my own thoughts. So every time people talk about meditation, I'm like, I'm getting so much better. Like that's my
Right.
version of meditation. And so I'm just proud of myself and I just had to say
Yeah, I mean, it's like
Love it.
like you said, do you like
Yeah.
for me? And she knows what I'm getting ready to say. I'm the beach person, so I love to go to the beach, and that's my meditation because just hearing the ocean, it just does something to me mentally. I just feel
Yeah.
like you don't think about anything. You just let it all in. And that's my healing, just to go there and just breathe.
Yep.
You
It's
know,
it's
that's what I
beautiful.
do. I go there and I breathe. I take deep breaths and I get it all
Every
in.
morning, don't you?
Yeah. I mean, I love it. She drinks her coffee. I go to the beach
It's
and
yeah,
you dance,
yeah.
you
There's
know, but you have a process.
yeah. With Jada, like I'm in reverence because it takes a lot for a Taurus woman to get to that place.
It
Oh,
Um,
sure
it's
does.
it's beautiful because you're discovering things about yourself now.
Yeah.
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 And with you being a Gemini,
mm-hmm.
you're so grounded,
Mm,
and I think you probably went through a process,
mm-hmm.
but you're so beautifully grounded.
Right.
Yeah, for an air sign, it's like that's your power
Yeah.
to ground your air sign,
Mm-hmm.
and then you can fly further.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love
And with
Oh,
Michael,
yeah.
I kind of felt like you have such beautiful emotions. It's like you're so in your feeling area, which is very rare for a man sometimes,
Right.
but it's beautiful.
I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
You mentioned using your social media a couple times. I'm gonna try and get your social media to just blow up because
Yeah.
you deserve
Yeah,
lots of respect
definitely.
and lots of
You
opportunity.
do.
So,
kind.
Yeah,
I
we got to get
I
that
know you're
out
not
there.
seeking, but what you mentioned, what comes to you, you're welcoming
Right.
it. So I'm gonna help
Yeah,
funnel
get it
people
out.
in your direction. So
Get it
maybe you
out.
could tell people what your social media is
Yes.
before, if you're
Yes,
okay with it.
yes. It's the underscore healing bear.
Yeah, the underscore healing bear. So
Yes.
come
Thank
check it
you.
out. But you connected with Jada via social media.
Yes.
I'm a big believer. I'm one of the rare people who actually reads my own social media, and I love to connect with people that way. I try to be 100% authentic. It's one of the ways
That's how
that
we
Jada and I
connected.
It's
reconnected.
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah.
And you mentioned a couple times having these kind of conversations with people or connecting people that way. I find that you can have this amazing energy connection if you're authentic, but I feel
Yes.
like most people are terrified to be so.
Yes.
Do you find that to be the case, and do you use it for that?
Yes, the social media, I got so comfortable with myself that I'm able to just like, because I do a lot of videos and I'm able to talk in the moment and I hardly edit any of it because I like the organic things that are coming to be in the moment. And then from that, I have a lot of people that vibe with it and say, I love this. I learned a little bit about this. And like when it comes to reading, like especially on my dancing, I don't read any of the commentary that's negative because I just don't want to. I'm not there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You don't want that
Yeah.
And
energy.
if
It's not healthy.
Yeah,
It's not
it's
healthy.
And here's
it's
what I would
not.
say. And
No.
you guys can all
Is it
chime in
healthy
on
to
this.
read all your comments though too?
You
I'm
know
just
what? I do, and I'll
No.
tell you.
I know you
And I'll
do.
tell you
Yeah.
why. Because I'm a freak in this way. I flip it. And if you want to talk about transmuting, is I love when people send me negative comments because a lot of times my response is something along the same lines of what you said earlier. Is that people think I'm trolling them, but I'm really honestly like, if it made you feel better to say this horrible thing to me,
That's
like I hope your day got better, and people get so mad. But it's like authentically me because I'm like, look, if it made you feel better to seek me out and send me some, and mine's not a highlight reel. And there's lots of times I talk about stuff that I struggle. I used to do these for over a year and a half. I did lives like 2 or 3 times a week where I
Yep.
let people come in and talk about anything. And we talked about stuff that was so heavy. And every once in a while there'd be just contrast, right? There'd be somebody who's really struggling who was triggered in some way and had to come in and spew something negative. And I always try to be compassionate about like, I have no idea what you're going through. I don't know why that's the thing that set you off. I don't know why, um, I had a trans woman on the show, like on this live one time, and people started getting very angry and very rude to her. And I'm like, for me, I like it almost, they talked about she drinks her coffee and does her meditation. Dot goes to the beach. I engage trolls and like try to transmute it. Like I know that sounds terrible, but
kind of, but
like
if
for
it makes
me,
you feel
but
good.
for me, I love to do something kind, and I know it sounds weird, but like there is a piece to me.
That's
in
not
that.
weird.
It's like I go, well, it is weird. I'm very
He
straight.
is not
I'm a
shy away from being weird.
No,
Right,
I embrace
okay.
it.
He embraces it.
And authentically, like actually, I would rather you send that hate to me than to send it to her.
I
And
totally
I
get it.
would love if you'd send me that hate and I can have the conversation with you. Because if I can get you for a moment to lighten or open up for a moment and have a compassionate conversation, right? It means she didn't get attacked,
Oh yeah.
right? And she gets attacked enough,
Yeah.
right? So if I can stand in that space and not take it all super personal, right? And like stand strong and be compassionate through it, it's not that it doesn't get to me. And it's not that I don't feel it or that I don't have empathy. It's that I literally take that and use it as motivation. Jada and I talk about this. It's one of the things we kind of bonded over as friends is I have this belief, and it sounds like this is your journey too, is I think you get two choices with your trauma. Your trauma can either start defining you and you carry your scars and you live by them, or it becomes your mission. And I think diseases are the same way. Your disease, whatever you're dealing with as a human being, it either becomes your mission and you go, I don't want other people to experience that. I want to make it better. I want the world to be a better place. I want to do the most with my time. Or sometimes in a low vibration moment, you sit in it and you go, oh my, this is what I'm dealing with. And you're allowed to have those moments.
It
It's
doesn't
allowed to
define you.
suck, right?
Yes.
Mhm.
But it doesn't have to define you and it can become the motivator. And if it becomes your motivator, you're in a really powerful, authentic space to me. So that's what I love about social media is where Jada laughs at me all the time because she's like, "How were you today?" I'm like, "Well, I got a couple death threats." And
That's what he does. I had a couple death threats and stuff.
and a normal person who grew up with a normal background might go, "You got a death threat?" Like Jada, the first time, she's like, "What are you talking about?" I'm like, no, this is the world I like.
Yeah.
That's been happening in my life since I was like 8 or 9 years old. So if I took every one of them and if I took their pain, their trauma, and personalized it all, I don't know that I would even last very long, let alone I
Right.
would be a very miserable person, right?
Absolutely. Yep.
And I think this is a healing thing for people too. I know it sounds strange, but that has to be in some ways, you get a choice about your perspective on it or how you take it, right?
Mhm. Yeah.
And our perspective over life changes, right? You were talking about your stepfather, right? And how that transitioned for you. You're inherently so powerful when you say that. And I hope, I pray, I wish for people who are watching, who are listening, that you can have that moment. That the thing that used to hurt you
Absolutely.
or make you sad or drive
Yep.
you nuts can
Mhm.
be your power, right? And can be the moment where you have compassion, where it makes you see somebody and go, I had 2 really super brief stints in homelessness. So I'm a huge advocate and I help homeless people all the time. We talked about being around the LGBTQAI community. Man, those are my peeps, man. I love it, and I love when people express.
Right.
But I hate when people come and put pressure on them or beat on them, like
Right.
all of that. And I think
It takes
it's
a lot more energy to be mean, I feel.
It does.
It does.
agreed,
Like,
Yeah.
and it
it's
doesn't take that much once you get there
yeah.
to change it,
Yeah, exactly.
right? Dance because you want to dance. Take your moment in the morning. Go to the
Right.
beach. Hit up a troll online and throw it back at it. Like, I go to the beach too. I have some other Actually, I coach kids, right? Like, that's a release for me. Or
Right.
I volunteer in a hospital. Like, there's a part of me that's like, and most of that nobody will ever see. I think that's the other part. Do the things that are authentically, like, when you started dancing, it wasn't so other people would notice,
Yes. Correct.
right? Like, it was you noticed,
Yes.
right? You noticed, like, you 3 or 4 times today, you mentioned what you felt like inside.
Mhm.
And I hope people hear that because I hope if you're sick, you're dealing with a toxic relationship, if you're hurting, all of that's valid. You have to sit in those moments, right? We have to have the grief moments. But then you can start letting it out, right? Like you can have your healing moment. You can have your love moment. You can love the sick moment, right?
Yep.
And as a love sick, I mean, I think that's part of what we started here is
Right.
like you find it. And what are those other moments for you? We know dancing. What are your other ones, Ernesto? Like what are
I think what it is, it's just me on a day-to-day basis. Just, I have my phone with me, and every time I feel that I'm having a new realization for myself, I put it right up there I record it right away because it's little tidbits of moment. And even when it comes to driving and, going from A to B, especially when driving, there's so much turmoil on the streets and there's so much frustration. So what I started doing is imagining without a car, but driving. So I started doing this imagery where people are driving without a car. And it looked really cuckoo to me. and and that cuckoo-ness of it got me to be more empathetic. They're rushing to here, they're having their kids having problems with their kids, with their husband, and has nothing to do with you. If they cut you off or they scream at you or they flip you off, it has
Mhm.
to do with what's going on in them that they can't transmute and can't let out. And it manifests into a result. See, I
Mhm.
keep moving
That's
the mic.
okay. That's okay. But that's really important
Yeah.
because I do think a lot of times we do take things really personal and we
Mhm.
forget that somebody's going through something or it's not about us. It's about that person. So
Right.
Yeah.
I'm with you on that
And
one.
that's why you're here. You're here to help. You're here to help the continued, blessings for people of healing. You're sharing a journey with, I'm sure there's someone out there that is going through or that's already gone through something like that and they don't know how to process it. But you being here, your presence, you're helping people to maybe process something that they didn't understand.
Yeah.
And just you telling that story, you don't know, one person, two
Yeah.
people, how many people, the fact that you're helping.
Thank you,
And this
Doc.
is why we have this show for people to come on, share the journey, because you get a lot of people that don't want to talk about things. So you can't help people if you're afraid to share what's happening to you or what happened to you. But the more people open up, there is always somebody to say, oh my gosh, that happened to me.
Same thing. Yep.
Mhm.
Oh
Yep.
my goodness, that just happened to me.
Yep.
And then you make them smile because they're like, well, look at him. He's helping people, he's dancing, he's doing all these great things. I can turn my fuel and put the flame up a little bit and do whatever it is that they like. Not necessarily they have to dance, but whatever they like, they can say, you know what? Let me go out and do something that I like for other people. Not and even though you're doing it for yourself, but you're actually doing it for other people.
Yeah, I was also working I won't mention the store name, but I was working in cosmetics
Mm-hmm.
and I
How
was
can I tell? I can tell. I can
Can you
tell.
tell?
I can tell. Yes. Okay, sorry.
And I was the manager of a certain line, and then my associate at the time came over and said, "You're not gonna like it here." And
Wow.
she wasn't being negative about it. She
Mhm.
was just kind of telling me the truth. Um, and I said, "Oh," she said, "You must be." But first, I'm gonna digress. So she said, "Oh, you must be the new manager," and I said, "Listen, honey, um, the manager thing is, to get paid more, but I don't like those titles."
Mm.
Oh.
And I said, "You and I are associates. We're coworkers. We're gonna vibe together. She is my best friend in the whole world right now."
Wow.
Wow.
It's like I took that,
And you just changed it. You
I
just
took
transferred
that,
it.
that weirdness, like that
Mhm.
hierarchy that happens sometimes.
Yep.
And I said, you and I are just associates, and we're gonna do what we're paid to do here, and that's it.
Right.
And it's like, and then from that, that's when it started. Like, started branching out more, and all the associates around me, I said, "You're great. You're great. You can do everything." Most of them left because they found that they're
That they are great.
yes,
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and look, Jana and I talk about this all
That's
the
why
time.
I was looking at him.
Because we have these conversations about hierarchy.
Yeah.
We've worked in entertainment for so many years.
Yeah.
And hierarchy is a huge thing, and people literally make their life on titles, right? And
Mhm.
titles change everything. And I could not care less. Now, I acknowledge that's a benefit of the fact that most of my life I've had a title, right? So maybe I didn't have to fight for it as long as some people did, right? But I've also worked like pardon my, I work some really terrible, I'm going to say shippy jobs.
Shippy
Yeah. I work some real shippy jobs along the way. I work some things you wouldn't wish on other people, right? And so, yeah, we almost
We're
turn
gonna
into like
coin
what we
that
do with
right
our
now.
kids.
That shippy.
But I don't love titles.
Yeah.
I was a coach for years and years. It's a team, right? I have a team mentality. And I think that's a big part of it. When you strip away the titles, and talking about health, it's one of the things I think gets in the way of health and healing is titles. Doctor, nurse, this division of communication, division of power, right? No, we're all teammates on this journey to help somebody get better or to heal.
There it
And
is.
if we look
Yep.
at it that way, I think we get so much further
Right.
because we start defining everybody by these titles. And the first thing that happens is people feel less than or more than.
That part.
And the minute you divide people, well, we're not equipped to work together. So like you said, we're associates. I love that.
I love that too.
Because that's the way
great.
it is.
Yeah. That's
And
fantastic.
there's a healing nature to that. And you said a lot of people have left, right? And for some people in the audience, they're probably their initial thoughts like, oh yeah, they left. No, they launched somewhere,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Like my job is to launch people.
Yes.
If I don't launch anybody, I failed. And just like you said, you launched these people, right? They launched into something different, something better, something bigger. And it's
I
beautiful.
love that.
Yeah, they're like,
Yeah.
I matter.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? No,
Yeah.
it's true. Like, I matter. Like,
Yeah.
he said something that just like struck a chord. Like, they're like, okay, yeah, maybe I should be doing something else.
But even thanking people after them doing their jobs, it makes you feel more like
feel good.
empowered. Like I always, when I was on set, I always thank everybody. And a lot of people, they're like, well, it is my job. This is what I do. But it's like, yes, but I still appreciate
Yes.
what you've done.
Yes.
Thank you.
But here's the funny part. When's the first time you and I met? Because we've never said this, but when is the first time we officially like just met?
Oh, yeah. I met Michael, oh my goodness, a long time ago. Like
25 years?
Was it 25
20
years?
25 years ago was the first time we met.
That's
Which nobody really knew.
Right. Well, I knew who he was, obviously. No, it was at an event.
But our interaction
Wow.
Yeah.
was pretty basic like this, right? Like it was a normal human interaction as opposed to your experience with a lot of other people.
Yeah.
Even at the same event,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
It was a DVD launch thing. Like,
Mhm.
it was like, I want to say it was like 1999 or 2000.
It had to at least
Early
been,
2000s?
it had to be early 2000s because I didn't get here until
Well,
like
especially
early 2000s.
DVD.
And so, right, yeah. What are those
That tells it right there.
Hey.
DVD.
No, but that was
Now
one
those
of
are
the
called
things he
cheap
said to me.
Frisbees.
But were we nice? And because when we,
Well, I knew I
Right.
was, but
Well, I know, yeah.
but that's the truth, right?
yeah,
Like thanking people.
Right.
And what's funny is we had no idea all these years later
Yeah.
we'd end up in this kind of environment. Now we're working together and
Right.
building partnerships, right? But if I had been a horrible jerk,
yep.
Jada would have been like, stuff that guy. He's a little ship, right? Like,
Yep.
right? Like we would have just absolutely just
Right.
gone. Like I would. There's no way we could have these conversations. Like,
No.
and then the conversation we've had now, it really is born out of just moments of normal decency and kindness. And I was thinking about you dancing, right? Obviously, it shifted Jada, and the shift you put in Jada made a shift with Dot,
Yeah.
which made a shift.
He's
in
like,
me,
he's got to be here.
right.
You need to get him here so we can find out his journey.
Yeah, and so
Yes.
now you shifted at least
Three of us,
right?
right?
These are just the ones in front of you, and I don't think people get to hear this enough. So I really want to. Like,
Oh wait, there was a full one.
Oh,
Oh.
yeah! Look at that.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes. There
And
he
this
is.
is-
Thanks, Solomon.
Thank
And
you.
as you shift, right?
Yeah, we can show
I
that.
can't help but think to myself because I work with kids, right? You see this beautiful artistic dance happening on the
Yes.
street, and here's the first thing that comes up in my mind is somewhere there's some young kid who's terrified of who they are,
There it is.
who sees this, and life got a little easier because of it.
Yes.
That you healed them, right? Like that someone goes, it's okay to be me.
Yep.
It's okay for me to dance through my schoolyard where they may get bullied anyway. It's okay for me to dance in the hallways of my high school. It's okay for me to just be silly or wear the shirt I want to wear. Like maybe it's not dance because that's not their thing, but like for a
Yeah.
moment, right?
Yeah.
Like you gave us that gift. And I
Yep.
hope that you
You
know
did.
that I'm sure that there are kids who, drive down 2nd Street in Long Beach and through Belmont Shore, who some of those kids come from very secluded, refined, repressed families, is what I'm going to say.
Right.
That's a nice way to put that.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's true, though.
And they get to see you for a moment and probably laugh and smile. And every once in a while, probably say silly things to you, or even every once in a while, might even say not nice things, right?
Yeah.
And then 2 miles down the road, you stick in their head and there's a freedom
There
that
it
you
is.
gave them,
That's
right?
Yep.
And I think this is also like, this is what I tell you, because I'm sure that there are people who give you pushback. And you know this because you touched on it. Sometimes people give you pushback because they kind of are afraid of the freedom that you're having.
Mm-hmm.
And they say something terrible. And then 2 miles down the road, yes, they were rude to you. And we already talked about not personalizing that. But while they shamed you or tried to insult you, 2 miles down the road, you gave them a freedom that may have given them the gift. And maybe you just planted the seed. And so you got a payback of hate, but you also gave them the gift of a freedom that they would have never known. And so I hope sometimes when you hear these things, maybe the next time someone says something negative or is, first of all, I'd love to be standing next to you because I got your back. But in the nature of that is like, some things we say, people are going to react negatively. I think that's what I love about when I said I love the troll when it comes to social media, because that's what it is to me. Yeah, then have the conversation with me and let's have that moment, because I know a day later, 2 months later, a year later, it may hit you different. And all of a sudden you may realize the compassion, like you're giving people a gift and you may spark something and you won't see the outcome of it, right? It's like reverberations on
Yeah.
water, right?
Yeah. Even right now talking, I have this awakening moment right now where so beautifully said, because I didn't even go there. Like I didn't see it that way. Like sometimes when I would get the pushback, and now that you said it, it just makes so much sense because I've never seen that other side
Yeah.
of like how I can be impacting someone that's not necessarily someone that's liking at that moment. So yeah, thank you.
And sometimes their
Yeah.
fear causes them to lash out,
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Or jealousy,
or jealousy, or but
because they
sometimes a
wish that they
fear.
could do it.
Yes,
That's it.
and that
Yes.
feeling inside them scares them initially,
Yeah.
so they say something ugly
Yep.
or push back.
Mm-hmm.
But then they go home. There's a little piece of them probably dancing inside too,
Right.
saying, "I
Yep.
wanna
Because
do
they
that."
wish they were him
Yeah.
and had the courage to do what he's doing. You find a lot of people are envious of others because they wish that they could
Well, they're just
be
afraid.
like that. Yeah.
Or they lack the confidence. Or
right,
they're
like
not-
you said, it could be any of those
or they're shrunken.
Right.
Like we were saying.
any of
Yeah.
those reasons, but a lot of times it's one of those reasons,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah. Beautiful.
What
Beautifully
would
said.
you tell people, unless everybody else has more questions, but what would you tell people as we close, something that will resonate with everyone that's listening and watching right now?
I would say just never be afraid to be yourself and who you are. And whenever you have that soul burst out, just go with it because it's healing, it's powerful. It just breaks all these barriers that we have as humans. It's just being yourself and having this heart chakra just open. It's a beautiful thing. And it's also very healing.
Yeah.
That's a
That's
beautiful
well
way
said.
to wrap up.
Well
That is
said.
a beautiful
Yeah.
way to wrap up.
Yeah.
No surprise there. So anyway.
Well said.
Just want to thank you, Ernesto, and just for telling your story. And I
Yes,
think it's
thank
just
you.
it's all beautiful. And for anyone listening, please, I hope you have learned something today. I don't know how to
Yes.
say ship now.
And just take it to heart, right?
Just take it to heart, yeah.
the
Right.
lesson, take the message,
Mhm.
because the message that we give each other, if we're willing to listen,
Right.
what you said is so powerful. May they trust in who they are. May
Right.
they embrace their uniqueness. And may they love the people around them through the good, the bad, the sickness, the struggle. And going back to what you started with, may they have understanding and compassion
Right.
to lead to some of
Yeah.
the forgiveness of the moments people trespass against them. You know what I
Right.
mean? Like maybe that's what they need. So thanks everybody for coming and being part of it. And
Thank you.
thank you for
Thank
giving us such beautiful wisdom and light.
It's my pleasure. Thank
Thank
you,
you so
Jada,
much.
Don, Michael, for
Thank you
having me
so much
here.
for being here,
It's an honor to be here.
enlightening us, giving us your energy to continue today.
And you can find all of us on the street dancing because that's what's coming next.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank you.
you. Yes, thanks for being here. Such a pleasure.